Call this meeting to order. Invocation by Alderman Mr. Lonzati.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight to make decisions for the city, Lord, we ask you to give us guidance and wisdom. Lord, I just thank you for all the people that are here. Lord, just be with us, protect us from the disease, and Lord, just watch over our city and keep them safe. And Lord, I just thank you for all the blessings of this day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Megan Bryant.
Here.
Larry Bud.
Here.
Sean Burdell.
Here.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Here.
Kathy Driscoll.
Here.
Lee Landzadi.
Here.
Jim Olive. Chris Popetti.
Here.
All Aldermen are present. Need a motion to approve the omnibus vote recommendation. Motion by Alderman Dorchenez.
Second.
By Alderman Driscoll. Roll call.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive. Chris Popetti.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Minutes of the public hearing held July 20th, 2020. Minutes of the regular meeting held July 20th, 2020. Minutes of the Street and Sewer Committee meeting held July 23rd, 2020. Minutes of the Public Facilities Committee meeting held July 23rd, 2020. Motion to approve all the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bryant. Second by Alderman Olive. Roll call.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Bernie
Yes.
Dorchenez. Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim
Yes.
Olive. Chris Popetti.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Ordinance. An ordinance amending 6-4-3-1 of the Taylorville City Code. A, no parking on the north side of West Wilson Street from 311 West Wilson Street to the curve at the corner of Holly Street. Motion by Alderman Olive, second. Alderman Skoltedi. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Popetti.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Mayor Barry.
Yes. Motion carries 9-0. An ordinance amending subparagraph C of section 6-4-4 of the Taylorville City Code. Slow children at play speed restriction at 3900 East Lake Shore Drive.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Bertle. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Popetti.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Motion, Mayor Barry votes yes. Motion carries.
You don't need to vote,
9-0.
Mayor.
I voted. An ordinance amending 6-4-1 of the Taylorville City Code. A, one-way stop sign at first intersection on Fairview Trailer Court west of North Houston Street. Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second.
Second.
Alderman Skoltedi. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
No.
Chris Popetti.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
No.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Mayor Barry votes yes. Motion carries 7-2. Resolution. A resolution authorizing execution of public water system easement and rights-of-way agreement. The Sunset Avenue Public Water Main System Extension Project. Motion by Alderman Bertle. Second. Alderman Olive. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
We need a roll call.
Need a roll call on that?
Roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Popetti.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Resolution to levy an additional tax of 0.02% for the library purchase of sites and buildings for the construction equipment of buildings and for the maintenance, repairs, and alteration of library buildings and equipment. Motion. Alderman Olive, second.
Second.
Alderman Dorchenez. Questions or comments? Question, Alderman Bertle.
This resolution and the next motion
we got several emails about them over the course of the last few days, week, maybe. Can somebody explain exactly
The library we do every year. It's the
an
same,
additional tax?
it's the same thing every year. They pass a resolution and then we pass this one. It's part of our tax.
Or I guess the word additional.
It's, it's the same wording in every resolution.
Okay.
So it's not new?
No,
It's just continuing what we have? Oh, wow, okay, I didn't realize that either.
Well, that's additional tax, so it says it's going up by 0.02% now.
Roll call.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Chris Coletti?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Bertle?
In that case, yes.
Ernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Lee Landzadi?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Motion to authorize the city treasurer to transfer $300,000 funds from the 2% utility tax street construction appropriated item and reduce the appropriation for such line item to $1.3 million to the equipment appropriated item and increase the appropriation for such line item to $316,000. All within the street department appropriation section of the city's adopted 2020 to 2021 appropriation orders. Motion to authorize the transfer.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bud. Questions or comments?
May I comment, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Rocky.
I sent all the council members a detailed email, I think, on July 29th, expressing the legal view of this. In summary, once you've adopted your appropriation ordinance, you're not allowed to amend it unless there's 4 situations come up. If you have funds that you did not contemplate, that had not been previously appropriated, the law allows you to enter a supplemental appropriation. Or if we have a disaster like a tornado, you have to spend funds, you can do an appropriation supplemental. Or if you take it to the electorate and under 2 situations have a referendum to pass it. What I was suggesting is that you are allowed to make transfers only within a department. Now, the question posed was, can you transfer money from the utility tax fund over to the equipment fund? The answer is yes, but you've got to keep in mind is that you've only got $430,000 expected revenue coming in this fiscal year according to your city treasurer. And that money is supposed to be divided amongst the wards. And there's a city code section that was adopted years ago that provided for that. So understand if you pass this motion, you will only have $130,000 as opposed to $430,000 that will be divided by individual wards to transfer over to the equipment fund. You need to realize that if that's what you intend to do. Is there any questions about that?
Go ahead.
Well, the last couple emails I seen, it didn't specifically say why we were doing it. Is there a reason why we're doing it?
I was told, Alderman Bertle, that the line item was intended to be able to buy 2 trucks for the street department at a cost of $300,000.
Really? I thought we were.
That's what I was told.
What's going on?
Well, what happened was that in the budget side, I put the revenue for $300,000 in revenue, and the 300, down 314,000, I think, down in the equipment line. However, on the appropriation side, I didn't subtract any amount out of that line, out of a line to put down into the appropriations for equipment. It was just number side.
So if we don't do this tonight, what's the end result? Anything?
If you don't adopt this tonight, the law is, that's what the appropriation ordinance is all about, is a legal limit for what you can spend city funds for the specific objects or purposes that are spelled out in your appropriation ordinance. That's why you have public hearings, that's why you have a budget. It allows the public to know when you finally adopt the appropriation order, that's the limit that you're gonna spend the money on. And that's what the public has a right to rely upon, that's what the law says.
So this
So
$300,000.
if you don't adopt this motion tonight, then the wards will still get their $430,000. And you can only spend $16,000 for equipment in the street department, although you've got a $50,000 contingency fund that you could elicit for any purpose, so that gets you a little bit of money. But if you do vote for this to transfer, then you're in essence saying that I'm not going, this $430,000, we're going to ignore the code section where we said that under code section 3-2-4, that the money was going to be divided up amongst the wards, and that each of you would have, each ward would have their own project to spend that money for. You adopt this motion, you're taking away $300,000 from that $430 for that purpose.
So
One problem I
basically,
have with this is that it already seems like the ward money is kind of becoming a slush fund over the last 15 months.
Well-
And I understand the COVID thing, I understand the tornado thing, I understand all that. But it seems like if we don't have the money somewhere, that's what we go for, or we try to send it to DED. And I think if this 300,000 is specific for vehicles, and I hate to pick on Mike tonight, but we don't need $300,000 for these vehicles, we don't have enough money for them, even
No.
if we appropriate for them.
If you look at the sheet, I think the question was, we approved the budget, department requested under equipment of $314,000, but we only put $16,000 in the appropriation.
It was just added, when the 300,000 was just added later, after a lot of the budget was done, it was just added later. So that's why I didn't get the appropriation side done, it was just an oversight.
But why would we budget for equipment in that excess this year?
The reason that we did that through the budget was so that if COVID doesn't kill us this fall, that next spring that he would be able to take and be able to purchase 2 trucks so that you wouldn't make the payment on those till 2022. But it was with the understanding that knowing whatever that happens this fall, nothing can be done until we see what's going on. Didn't I say that?
That's correct.
Mike?
Yes.
And the thought behind this, with our aging equipment at the street department, we need to start budgeting for at least one truck. And we thought we would try to get them in, depending on what our revenues are next spring with our, again, we've always borrowed money when we buy the big tandem trucks. So we thought we'd get it in the budget and then possibly make it payments over a couple of years. So there's no way that we're gonna spend $300,000 on 2 trucks in this year's budget.
Well, I mean, the other side is, they take money from the utility tax money, so if there is a problem in a ward somewhere, and we're taking, sounds like 3/4 of the money, if not more, out of that ward money, and somebody has a problem in their ward they're trying to fix, then it's not gonna get done, and we're gonna be trying to jockey the money around from somewhere else.
Let me add something, Mr. Mayor, is that you don't have to pass this motion tonight. You can do this at any time during the fiscal year. So if the need comes up, you can make that decision later on down the road. If you got one truck you wanna buy and everyone's willing to transfer $150,000 out of the ward money, so be it. You don't have to make that decision tonight. I just put it on the, asked to be put on the agenda tonight because the city treasurer posed a question. And yes, it was in the budget, but it wasn't in the appropriation. So it was an inadvertent error, but unfortunately, the law is pretty clear what you can and cannot do.
I'll say we do that then.
Yeah, me too.
So is there a motion to table this?
Is that what we should do, Reggie? Table it?
Yeah, you could.
I'll make some.
Motion by Alderman Bertle to table this.
Second.
By Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments?
And just keep in mind, until and unless you make that change, you can only approve $16,000 for equipment purchases out of the street department this fiscal year.
Okay. We got a motion and a second on the floor. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Chris Goltetti? This is a motion to table.
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Burdell?
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Lee Landzadi?
Yes.
Jim
Yes.
Mullin?
Motion carries 8-0. Okay. Motion to approve the special events permit for Meet the Machines on the inside of Taylorville Square from Webster to Washington Street on Saturday, August 29, 2020, from 9 a.m. till 12 noon.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Olive. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the change in Lake Marina hours as follows: Sunday through Thursday, 11 to 4, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 6. Motion
So moved.
by Alderman Dorsones, second. Second by Alderman Bud. Questions or comments?
Why are we doing this?
Andrew and I have been out there most days last week or two, and it's been very dead from 9 in the morning till 11, and they suggested that they don't have any business at all. So it's a money saving issue just to stay up from 11 to 4 during the week. And, that's what, we came up with. Roll call.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Burdell,
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi,
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Crystal Teddy.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Geoffrey Ortman as Lake Superintendent effective August 8, 2020, upon the retirement of Bart Bialas, which is August 7, 2020. Motion by Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Olive. Questions or comments?
I just have to state, you know, sat up here down a little over a year now, and we went through several, and I believe you're Mr. Ortman back in the corner, correct? This is the first time I've ever seen that guy. I've never talked to him. I have nothing against you. I think you probably do a fine job, but, I see a fault in this is that I'm voting for him, not knowing anything about him, not seeing a resume, not knowing anything, and, I think that needs to change. I mean, everybody needs to involved. The way we did it with the, street and sewer superintendent when we had it that time, and then talking to Chief Wheeler, that was a really good thing. Set up times with everybody to be able to interview him. And I can't rightly vote for anybody when I know nothing about them. So this is nothing against anybody. I'm sure you'll do a fine job and hear great things about you. But, you know, until I'm involved in some process, when I'm in the hiring process with resumes or talking to them, I can't rightly vote yes for any.
Well, it was on the agenda since Friday, so I think you could have called him and set up a time to talk.
But, you know, whenever I've been involved in the hiring process many times and the interview process many times. And that is usually set up through whoever, and then, you know, whether it be Andrea or whoever to set that up. I shouldn't have to call Jim or Kathy and call and said, you know, set up times just to say, you know, this is what time is available, sit and talk with them.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
I did have a quick comment on it, and I mentioned this to you today, and to Geoffrey gets point out, I would like to sit down and let him have be part of the process on coming up with some kind of a job description or what his duties actually consist of, something that he can, you know, some kind of a checklist, not a checklist for you, but something so you know on a daily basis as to what really needs to happen. Because as you're aware, there's been things that has happened that you didn't have any clue about. So just something to kind of help you out and help us out too. So I do hope that we get that accomplished.
Roll call.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll. Yes. Lee Landzadi,
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Crystal Teddy.
No?
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-1. Motion to direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to amend 8-3-2C of the Taylorville City Code to eliminate the airport manager's duties and responsibility from the office of the cemetery superintendent. What we're doing this for now is the code says that the cemetery Sexton and the airport superintendent are the same person. I'm gonna try to split this up, at no extra cost to the city. Right now, Andy and I are overlooking the airport, to see what changes we may or may not make this fall going into next spring. And so I've asked, the next one is my superintendent, for the cemetery, or that third one down there, so we need a motion to separate the job responsibilities, so. Motion, Alderman Olive, second.
Second.
Alderman Bryant, questions or comments?
I got a question.
Okay.
So, about the pay, I mean, Bill Newberry was our last cemetery and airport superintendent. I couldn't tell you how much he made, but is the cemetery superintendent gonna make the same pay as Bill did, or?
He'll make 105% of what the foreman out there makes, yeah.
Which is the same as what Bill retired at?
I don't think so, I'm not positive. I don't know.
But I guess my question would be, how are we gonna do this at no cost, or, I mean, you and Andy gonna do the airport indefinitely, or if we hire somebody, we're
We
gonna pay them?
could, no, I know, we're looking into maybe, hiring the mowing out at the airport and, doing different things, but that'll be discussed in the next couple months, like in the airport meeting. And right now, yes, Alderman, or Andy and I, and then Alderman Dorchenez, head of the airport, is going to meet with our engineers on August 12th, I believe is the date, and talk about the airport projects coming up. There's only one employee that we'll oversee, and Andy's doing that right now.
I have a comment on that as well.
Okay.
Extrapolating from what you said, is it basically we're saying that he's doing less duties but he's receiving the same pay that Superintendent Newberry?
Well, it's set by contract that we have to pay him 105%. I'm not sure what Newberry's pay was when he quit.
But I'm just saying he's gonna be having less duties. I mean, basically the job slashed in half is still the same pay, basically.
Well, I don't know, I mean, the job is a lot more time at the cemetery than the airport.
Can I say one time?
Yeah?
Doesn't Andy have enough to do in his position than to not be out overseeing the airport too?
Andy is doing a wonderful job.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind Andy doesn't do 100% of everything he does. I'm just saying that
And
we'll
then,
discuss it in the future.
Yeah, right. So. We had a motion and a second, so roll call.
Sean Bertle,
I'm gonna stay.
Ernie Dorchenez,
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll,
Yes.
Lee Landzadi,
Steve?
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Coletti,
No.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1, or 7-1 with the 2 abstentions. Motion to direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance concerning the management of the airport and supervision of the city employees assigned to the airport. And that goes on the same side. Right now, we're going to have Andy oversee the one employee, and with help from the airport chairman and also the mayor. So, need a motion to direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bryant. Roll call.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll,
No.
Lee Landzadi,
Abstain?
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Coletti,
No.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Bertle,
Abstain.
Motion carries for 4-2, or 6-2 with the abstention. Motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Mike Tennant, the cemetery superintendent, effective August 17th, 2020, subject to the aforesaid ordinance to be prepared by the city attorney.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second. Alderman Bud, questions or comments? I have one comment. I think Mike Tennant is an excellent choice, and I wish you guys to approve him as cemetery superintendent. So,
I would like to make the same note on that job also is something, some guidelines or job description for him to work with.
all right, roll call.
Kathy Driscoll? Yes. Lee Landzadi?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Chris Teddy?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Tom Riddle?
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. City attorney update, Mr. Romano.
Thank you. I've got several topics to discuss with you this evening, the first of which I'm pleased to announce that the Park District has signed the easement with respect to the project. I believe you all got a copy, that I forwarded this executed easement to their attorney today. The mayor is, I believe either the mayor or Alderman Olive has got the Fair Board easement that they're going to take care of getting that executed. And then I think the mayor's also working on 3 acknowledgement and consent agreements to be signed by A.M.P.M and Consolidated Telephone Companies so that this project can move forward. As a precaution, I think the mayor will notify the contractor that they have to live up to the obligations that the city agreed to in the easement with the Park District. Is there any questions about that? Hearing none. The next item to tell you about is on the RECC franchise. We're continually to discuss with the attorney some other requested changes to the franchise agreement. There's 4 subject matters that I can share with you in an email, but they're wanting to make changes that are different than what you've agreed to with A.M.P.M. And I've taken the position that we need to make them comparably the same, because if you don't, the law says that if you have in favor one, then A.M.P.M can come back and try to get the same things that we do for RECC. Becomes a never-ending circle. So unless I hear any information from the mayor or any of you that you don't agree with that, my position, then I'm going to move forward and insist that it has to be the same substantive agreement that we have with A.M.P.M with the same commencement and ending date, so we don't have to, we can just do this all at one time. Any questions about that? Okay, hearing none. I noticed that you have, I think it's in your minutes, that tonight's meeting that you made some kind of an arrangement or agreement with the drainage district about them increasing their tax levies and taxes so that over a period of 12 years you'll get your $60,000 back that you spent for that project. My recommendation to you is that we actually reduce that to writing so that there is a legally enforceable agreement between the drainage district and the city, so that as aldermen and trustees on districts come and go, you want to have something in place, and if a new officer in the drainage district decide not to honor that, you've got something to back up. So that would be my suggestion, that on your next council meeting, that you have a motion there to direct me to prepare something to protect you. Any questions about that subject? Okay. Hearing none, then you've got an email. We've got the title company, one of the local title companies, working on the legal question as to whether or not South Anderson Street and Palmer Street is actually owned by the city, or whether or not it's a city street. That issue has come about because the owner of property on Palmer Street has asked Mr. Spiegel to have a new line, and if where that line is going to be and who's going to pay for that line is going to be dependent a great deal upon who owns the street. And the information that we've gathered thus far, even with documents that your former city engineer years ago prepared, there is a serious question whether or not the city even owns it. So that's why the title company is working on it, and they're supposed to be working on it this week. I don't have any response from them. Visit that again. Any questions about that? Okay. The other thing is that on your Sunset Avenue project, you just adopted the resolution this evening. We've talked with Mr. Spiegel this week, and we, at your next meeting, you'll probably have before you the actual ordinance approving the water extension, along with hopefully the annexation agreement and irrevocable petition for annexation, and the notice of record for you to approve at your next meeting. Then you've got, I think you got a detailed email from me. It came recently, I think it was last Friday, if I'm not mistaken. The mayor got a letter from someone who's threatening to sue the city, asking want to settle the case for $90,000 relating to alleged occurrences that occurred, I think, on June of this year with the police department. That matter's been turned over by the city clerk to the insurance company for them to go forward. I've spoken with the mayor about this. I've spoken with the police chief. He has put together a report of his view of what took place, and I'll be sharing that with you with an attorney-client communication, because with threat of litigation, we want to have that cloak of protection for it. So as things develop, we'll keep you informed as we move forward. Any questions about that? I understand Thursday you're going to be having a meeting on personnel to discuss the COVID-19 policy for city employees. We're doing some research, hope to get it to you, obviously, before your committee meeting. Things like, is it legal? There's a federal law out here, and of course this is new. This is a new lay of the land here. There's some regulations out there. We're trying to put that together as things that if an employee claims that they are testing positive, can you require verification of the positive result or negative result? Can you force them to quarantine? If you tell them to quarantine, if they breach that, what can you do in terms of discipline if that doesn't happen? What information can be shared? I don't know, I have all the answers with that now, but hopefully by Thursday we'll have something for you guys to take a look at and decide if you want to create a policy. For example, what's paid, what's not paid, how many days you have to pay, if in fact you have to pay. So is there any questions about that topic? Must be doing a good job, no one's asking questions. Okay, I know I talked to the city clerk about this, and that is you've got a voluntary collection agreement that the mayor suggested to go ahead and sign. That's the one that Amazon, they're out here collecting your hotel tax. But I suggest we have a resolution next meeting so that you can ratify the mayor signing that agreement so that tax can be collected. I think that's all I have right now.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions for the city attorney? Okay. Thank you, Bart.
Okay, that concludes my report.
Mayor update. We finally got the easement with the Park District worked out. Thank you to Alderman Bryant for all of her help. We finally got the okay to tear down 404 East Park. We should start tearing it down this week. We are waiting dumpsters. Thank you for approving Geoffrey Ortman as the new Lake Superintendent and Mike Tennant as the new Cemetery Superintendent. Geoffrey, Andrea, and I, along with Trace, are looking at different controls out at the marina. Later this month, we'll be looking at privatizing the marina, perhaps. I would like to say a special thank you to all the summer help. They have worked well together. We might keep a couple of them past the August 7th until they get their 400 hours in. We wish the schools luck as they begin this fall. Our school resource officers are already in place and prepared for the upcoming school year. This past week, they have conducted hundreds of COVID-19 tests at the fairgrounds. Our numbers are rising, but we still remain at the 2% positivity rate, which is well under the state average. We encourage everyone to wear masks, practice social distancing, and wash their hands frequently. Remember, we're all in this together. Thank you. Committee reports, discussion and/or motion to approve, adopt, and/or deny, and/or table, and/or amend, and/or refer to an appropriate committee in whole and part the matters regarding the following subject matters discussed at the committee level. Street and sewer, Alderman Olive.
Mr. Mayor, Motion to recommend to the city council to approve the special events permission for the Kiwanis Club, Kids Day for September 25th, 26th, 2020 at the corner of West Main Cross and Webster. Put that in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Olive.
Second.
Second by Alderman Driscoll. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to recommend to the city council to approve the request to issue a special event permit to the Taylorville High School for the homecoming parade on Wednesday, September the 23rd, 2020, beginning at 5:30 p.m., with the school providing the current certificate of insurance at that time. Put that in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Olive, second by Alderman Bud. Questions or comments? That date may be tentative with the high school moving football. haven't talked to the school. So, but we'll go ahead and approve that as a tentative date, and if they change homecoming, we'll have to give them the notice. So, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next motion was to recommend the city council to pay Mrs. Heil $975 for a total reimbursement of $1,475, equal to half of the cost of repair minus the sump pump. That in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Olive, second.
Second.
By Alderman Lanzotti. Questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to table.
Motion to table by Alderman Dorchenez. There a second to table?
Second.
Second by Alderman Skoltedi. Let's roll call on the table.
Lee Landzadi,
No.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Coltetti,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
No.
Sean Bertle,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-2 to table.
Okay, next motion is recommend the city council to allow Goodman Fence to replace the fence at the street department at a cost not to exceed $3,141. That form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Olive, second. Alderman Skoltedi. Questions or comments?
Question.
This is with the understanding, Mr. Mayor, that the low bid did not include the requisite statutory prevailing wages in the bid. That's why we wanted that higher amount.
Correct.
Question, Alderman
Is this
Bud.
the fence out there at the street?
So around it.
It's the one right next to where the brush pile's at, right where the grass and the brush and everything is all.
I looked at that today when I was down there this morning, and I don't see this being urgent.
That what?
I don't see this being an urgent cost, so I will be voting no.
I got one question. If it does pass tonight, which I don't know if it will or not, Mike, is that the equipment getting into the bottom of the fence, or are they pushing stuff up against it?
We've actually worked on it the other day when it was raining. We took the high hole and kind of pushed everything back so it'd look a little bit better.
So is the new fence, are we doing anything different other than what we're doing now?
Do what?
I said, with the new fence, are we gonna do anything different than what we're doing now?
We're gonna put the jersey box in front of it, so everybody, if you notice when people come up pushing debris, they don't push it into the bin. They just take it off the side of the vehicles and it goes up into the fence, and then we have to take some out to get it away from it. So we're gonna put jersey blocks in front of it, which is big concrete blocks,
Okay.
so they won't. We have worked on the fence. Like I told the guys today, we need to do sidewalks, and we would love to have the fence repaired, but if it gets tabled, it gets tabled or turned down.
Roll call.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Coltetti,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
No.
Sean Bertle,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi,
No.
Motion carries 6-2.
Okay, next motion came on the committee, motion to recommend the city council to allow Van Better Engineering to perform the necessary pump repairs at a cost of not to exceed $438.99 for Pershing Lift Station, $340.88 for Cleveland and Long Lift Station, $4,283.12 for Market Street Lift Station, and $3,893.41 to Heights Lift Station, and $4,157.22 for spillway lift station, for a total of $13,123.62.
Motion by Alderman Olive, second. By Alderman Skoltedi. Questions or comments?
We still have like a preventive maintenance program with
This is,
Van
well, this is part of the preventive maintenance. This is, they just, changed out all the pumps,
Okay,
and then we have to do all the repair work on the ones that came out to have them ready for the next time.
okay.
Roll call.
Chris Teddy?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Burdell?
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Leland Zadi?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, last one to come on, recommend the city council accept the proposal rate of $65 per hour on all vehicle and equipment, as well as service calls from Blueville Garage. Put that in form of motion with a comment.
Motion by Alderman Olive, second by Alderman Driscoll. Comment, Alderman Olive.
This, this is proposed, we didn't really go looking for this. Blueville Garage actually came to us with this proposal, because our equipment, like we stated earlier, is not in the best shape that there is, and some of the maintenance gets overlooked on it, and they are wanting to do more of the preventive maintenance, the oil changes, the grease jobs, and things to keep them from getting in the shape that they're in. It's kind of late in the game on some of them to be starting that, but you gotta start somewhere.
I don't have a problem with it, it's probably a good idea. My concern is that there's gonna be a local mechanic shop that says, hey, we didn't get an opportunity to bid it out, or so, I don't know how long this is gonna be for. I hope not indefinitely, I hope at some point, maybe some of the local garages would want to get involved. So, I don't know what your thought is on that, but I think it's something we look at down the road.
I don't know all of them work on tandem sized trucks.
They probably don't, but I'm sure.
That, I mean, we didn't go to them and ask for this, they came to us and proposed it to us.
And the way I understand it, probably it doesn't tie us to, we don't have to take
Yeah.
them to them. We can take them anywhere else, but anything we're gonna work for them. So I think it's a benefit to the city.
Oh, definitely,
It's not a contract.
Rate.
Nobody says anything about this stuff until after we vote on it.
Right.
Then everybody's concerned.
No, I know. Roll call.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Burdell?
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll? Leland Zadi?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Chris Teddy?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Motion to approve and or ratify payment of bills. Motion by Alderman Bud, second
Second.
by Alderman Bryant. Alderman Bud, comment?
Bills totaled $163,975.29. Electric, $35,429.10. Telephone, $1,732.88. Garbage, $3,692.50. This includes the tickets that they had ordered. Walmart, bronze, Big R, $1,426.08. Travelers for liability, $2,607. Altor for $7,911.72. Meyer, Austin, Romano, $7,561.45. Quill for supplies, $1,046.65. Robert Rickey, $19,380. Safety Committee for Concord Drug Screen, $1,634. BED Angelos, $5,963.44. MFT Broad, $1,128.72. Water Department, Midwest Meter, $1,429. Chemicals, $15,940.23. Fire Department, Whitmer Associates Fire Helmets, $1,143.11. Street Department, Carl Graff Systems, annual subscription, $3,780.47. Kevin Hamill, $1,656.80. Airport, Foley for new locks and keys, $1,030. Aero Fuel, Energy for Fuel, $22,581.53. And all these total $137,074.68.
My opinion that the bill for Robert Rickey needs to be pulled. I brought this up at the council meeting that we needed to vote on how we're going to pay for him. And now I'm being told that we're trying to pay for some of this bill out of the BDD to recoup some costs from somewhere else. I'm just asking for things to be done correctly. This needs to come before the council to vote to make sure that we're wanting to do it that way. I'm sure had it come before council that we would be looking at doing that way. If they have enough votes, but, you know, there's $11,519.19 that's trying to be put to the BTD fund, and I don't agree with that. I mean, I could go on with it further as to why it's being done, but, I mean, this didn't come before council to authorize this. This is, hey, we're gonna pay this bill and then it's gonna be done. I don't know if anybody's been called and asked about it, or their opinion on it, or whatever. I only know because I called to ask about the bill and was told about it. And, I think it needs to be pulled, come before council so we can discuss how we're gonna pay it.
Well, if you're gonna don't pull the bill, let Ricky be paid for out of pooled cash. The gentleman did the work, he needs to be paid for the work that he had done. If you have a question of coming out of BDD, then that's a different story.
That's my question.
But I can tell you this, when he was brought out of there, this was not the intent of this. By no means was this the intent of this. If anybody thinks that I'm lying, you're wrong.
Now, listen, you're getting offended by it. I'm not blaming anybody. I know that it was there.
In order to be able to pay the businesses that for the mortgage, you had to have a building expense to be able to pay. That's my understanding. That was never the intent to do this, to make this up. So in order to pay those guys, we took the money from the BDD of the 11,000 to pay the businesses for their mortgage. It's completely legal. And nothing was trying to be hid by any means on this, by no means.
So did anybody on this council besides me know before tonight?
No.
That's the
It
problem
just
I
came
had
about.
2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago.
At that time, we didn't know that this was the way it had to be done.
I called to ask about this bill 2 days after the last council meeting. And I was
Did
told
you call
about
me?
this. No, I called the clerk's office.
Being finance chairman, it'd been nice if you'd called me and I could explain things.
Well, it'd been nice, I didn't need to explain to me, it'd be nice if I got a call to explain
Then
why
hold the
we're
bill,
doing it
then
and the
pay
rest
the
of
bill
everybody
tonight.
else.
Then pay the bill tonight to Ricky. He deserves to be paid. Take it out of pooled cash. That's where it was gonna come from.
No, you originally had said that you believed it needed to come out of the Fifth Ward. Now, everybody
But
probably
nobody,
sits up here and
nobody was
thinks,
wanting it to come out of Fifth Ward.
everybody probably sits up here and thinks that that I would enjoy calling this out, that I can enjoy calling these kinds of things out, and I can tell you nothing is further from the truth. So, but this is, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And the city council should vote on everything. There's too many things that are done that not all the council is involved in. And this is another one of them. We could have easily been on the agenda to talk about this tonight and then vote for it. We probably would have had enough if we discussed it. But we didn't discuss it at all. And I'm not sure we would have had I not been sitting up here being, excuse my language, the giant asshole that's bringing it up again.
I'll make a comment. Yeah. I agree with both these guys. I mean, Chris is right about it either needs to be discussed at committee level or on the council level. It doesn't need to discuss somewhere else and then just put on the agenda. The whole process has to be discussed. But Larry's right. The guy did the job regardless of who told him he could or could not do the job. And we can't hold his payment because we didn't do procedural things.
Well, we
right?
voted to let him do the job. And we voted that at council.
But we didn't vote to pay him the way we're paying him. And it doesn't matter if it comes out of the Fifth Ward, or if it comes out of the pool cash, or if it comes out of general fund, it's all the same fund. It all comes the same, I mean, we're using the 2% utility tax money, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jackie, but that money's in the general fund.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter if it
No,
comes
it's
out of.
not.
Most certainly
Street
it's
maintenance
No, it's not. It's in a separate account.
The 2% utility tax money's in a separate account.
Yeah,
It's a
street
street maintenance
maintenance
bank account.
It's in the street maintenance fund.
And that's
It's $1.4 million.
And that street maintenance fund is in the general account.
No, it is not.
No, it's fine.
It's a separate bank account.
Separate account.
It's a separate.
Automatically.
I didn't know that. I thought it was in the general fund.
No.
I don't have a problem with the guy getting paid. I just don't like the way we're going about it. And we're pulling out a portion of the mortgage payments, $11,519.19 out of the BDD to reimburse that because it didn't qualify. I'm not blaming you for that, so don't take that. That is not your fault. I don't blame you at all for that.
We're gonna take it.
That is not the case. I don't blame you for all. I know you had all your I's dotted, T's crossed, and probably had an email that said that it was authorized, or that it would qualify, and it didn't. I don't blame you for that at all. that kind of stuff can be helped. The problem I have is that it didn't come before committee or the council level to vote on how we do that. I'm almost 100% sure that there would have been enough votes for that to be authorized. Besides me, I probably would have voted no because I don't like pulling stuff out of the BD, but that's me. But it needs to come before committee, it needs to come before council. The guy needs paid, I'm not gonna argue that.
Well, if the whole building doesn't get paid.
So can we pay it and bring it back to finance committee to discuss where we're paying it from?
I mean, has the 11,519.19 already been reimbursed from the BDD?
No, no, it's still coming out of full cash at this time.
All right, then pay the guy to pull cash and bring it back.
Can I ask something? So the mortgage could not be reimbursed by BDD, correct? That's why you're doing this bill here, because they're saying that that was eligible, because the mortgage we paid strictly out of the general or the pool cash, because mortgage was not eligible for BDD. Because when I submitted that BDD to them, they said it's not eligible expense. Only the lease ones were. So that is, then they said, and correct me if I'm wrong, then they said that the BDD you could spend up to the $11,000 some dollars that we were going to turn in for the mortgage to pay something else. Is that what that email back and forth was with them?
When we first talked to the attorneys, the mayor and I misunderstood them. And I want that to be noted. I did not understand that you had to have a project within the building or a BD eligible expense of infrastructure or whatever to be able to reimburse the mortgage payments. I misunderstood that. When it came to where we approved those and we have paid those, then it was said that in order to pay those mortgages, pay them back from the pool cash, then the $19,000 that was used to pay Ricky for the plumbing in the basement, $11,000 of that could be used to out of BDD to reimburse all the mortgage owners in town. And that's how that came about. There was no intent to try to take and make it look like we're doing this behind the table. Well, we'll take the $11,000 out of pool cash, and pool cash will pay the mortgage.
All of it, yeah. Everything was in the
Simple.
BDD area. There was a difference between the lease and the mortgage payment. And the mortgage payment by statute, you could only reimburse it with BDD funds if you spent BDD funds for something that you could have used other funds. So that's why we could have used the $19,000 that we paid Ricky. We could use the money that we have reimbursed to Trevor Parker. We could take it out of that fund. We could wait for him to pay it back $500 at a time. We could do something with the money that State Shake's gonna get through the BDD that we would get from them. So it's, you know, the conglomerate of expenses that we have used. We just have to reimburse the general funds.
Well, Mr. Mayor, since there's questions of how this is being paid, then let the pool cash pay the $11,000 to the mortgage people and take the $19,000 out of pool cash, and nothing will come out of them to BDD.
I don't think he's asking for that. I think he's just he's trying to say, like, let's discuss it. I don't think it's a get defenses on how you did it. I just think it's and maybe you did it the right way. I don't know. It's just a let's talk about it.
I'm not denying that you did it a way perfectly legal and it can come out. It probably would have had enough votes to do that. What I'm saying is that there's too many times sitting up there that stuff is done and we find out about it after the fact. We should vote on that. I asked about it that night, about whether it should come out of the fifth ward, because that's what you recommended.
But there wasn't any support.
And we said we'd vote on it later on, and now here we are, we're just gonna pay the bill.
I told you how to pay it tonight.
No, I mean, you're getting all offended by me asking about this, and that's not what the intent was. You know, so I can't help that. you know, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that.
There's a motion to pay the bill on the floor by Alderman Bud, second.
I'll make a motion to pay the
Alderman
bill.
Olive. Roll call.
We need to decide how the bill's being paid.
We'll discuss that later. We'll pay it
No.
out.
No, it
Well,
has to be
pay out
paid
full
tomorrow.
cash. Pay it out full cash.
Do you want me to restate the motion then?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to pay Robert Ricky 19,3, whatever the exact number was, to be taken out of the pool cash account.
All right.
So that temporarily, take it out of the pool cash until we discuss this and decide where that money's
Right
actually
now,
going
it'd be paid out of there, and if they wanna take and have an agenda item, as this being on another agenda item, then we can bring it back at another date to reimburse, BDD.
I say something too, because right now, 11,000 some dollars is in a line item of BDD expense.
In the bills tonight, that is correct.
So it needs to go to a different line item now too.
Yes, that would be correct. It'll have to come out of the pool cash building department.
I got a
This is a
procedural
building
question.
expense.
I got a procedural question. We're under a motion to pay the bills. And now we got a second motion under that motion saying that we're going to pay Robert Ricky's bill separately. Is that how you do it, Rocky?
Well, I thought I heard Mr. Olive, he made a reference to this Ricky bill, and he should have also said it, and otherwise pay, approve all other bills.
I think that's what he said.
That's what I
I
heard.
got conception here, but that's what I thought he said.
You just couldn't hear me.
What's the motion?
The motion is to pay all the bills,
Okay.
Hey, Robert Reed.
pay Robert Ricky from pool cash. Correct? That's your motion? Mr. Olive?
If that,
Or Mr. Bud, is that your motion?
Well, we'll have to, change it some too, because you have tonight, you got Elizabeth Holstein and Snyder is going to be paid, reimbursed on the mortgage. So those will have to be taken out and you go paid by full cash also.
But those are leases.
That would be mortgage, those aren't mortgage. Those are leases.
Okay.
So that's paid out of the. I mean, it's up to the council. Do you wanna vote on who we're gonna pay this out of, or?
Pay it out of full cash.
The motion is to pay all the bills and pay Ricky out of pool cash. Everybody?
Chris, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I just think it needs to come back and we can decide if we want to pull it out of BDD, everybody can vote for it and we'll do it. That's just what I'm doing with. That's just, everybody has a vote and say in the matter and then we'll move on. I'm happy with it.
So it will come back later on. Is that going to be an agenda
Take
item?
the finance committee.
Okay.
Discuss it.
Perfect.
All right. Second by motion by Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Olive, roll call.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Brittle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll. Yes. Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. First subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120/2.06. This portion of the city council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on any relevant subject matters concerning the city. The Illinois Open Meeting Act 5 ILCS 120/1 mandates no action shall be taken on subject matters not listed on the agenda, but the council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the subject matter to a future council and/or committee meeting. If anyone wishes to address the council, please provide your name and address, limit your comments or presentation to 3 minutes, and avoid repetitious comments. Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? State your name, please.
My name is Elizabeth Heil, 3914 East Lake Shore Road. Comment and question. For some of you, you may not know that I have a hearing impairment, and so I promote disabilities. And throughout parts of tonight's meeting, I could not hear what you were saying. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, because anyone in the public could come in here and not hear what you're saying. Another comment is on the motion to pay Mrs. Heil for a portion of money. That is not, that was tabled, which is my second question. But my comment is that this was not to be paid to me. This was to be paid to the estate of James T. Morris. So I'd like that corrected. I don't want, this was not money that was asked for myself. And then the question is, this was tabled. Is this going back to committee? Because it was not mentioned whether or not this was going back to committee.
I would assume it would go back to
Yeah.
committee, but that's up to the chairman of the committee, which would be street
It would
sewer,
go
which
back
would
in.
be Mr. Oliver.
I didn't hear all your question, or I didn't understand.
The motion to table the sewer issue and White Avenue was tabled, and my question was if that was gonna go back to committee.
Yes, it will go back to
Okay.
the street
Okay.
sewer committee.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
I'm just,
Alderman Oliver?
just FYI, the 5th, which is Wednesday, we will be, changing over to the new generator. Cameron is gonna be here at, 7 o'clock in the morning to cut the power off. We'll, make some changes within the building. The generator will be, put online, and Cameron will, put in a new transformer and finish up the rest of the project. But we're gonna have CTI here to take everything down, bring everything back up, and we'll get running, so we don't have any big, hiccups on the computer side.
Is that like a ribbon cutting? Should we all be here for that ceremony?
You can if you want to.
Cookies and donuts?
It's-
Okay.
It's early in the morning, though.
7?
Okay.
You know,
Is it
about,
okay?
about 6.
I'll be there.
6? Yeah, I can handle that.
Yeah, it's-
Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Burgess, second by Alderman Olive, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. See you Thursday night.